Welcome to The Wall. In today's video, we'll explore two stories that clearly show why girls' trips can be a dangerous territory. First, we'll look at how a woman turned her girls' trip into a romantic getaway with another man, justifying it as a personal revelation. Then, we'll analyze the case of a man who discovered his wife's infidelity by showing up during her date with the man she was planning to betray him with. Make sure to smash that like button and subscribe to the channel. We're chasing 150,000 subscribers before the end of the year. Share your experiences and advice in the comments. That's what helps this community grow. Turn on notifications so you don't miss any videos. Alright, let's get started.
Girls trip rule number one is you have to get your hair wet and you have to get in the pool every single day.
Yes. Rule number two for the girls trip is that there is always a happy hour.
And a happy ending. Rule number three for the girls trip is that you always have to remember to wear underwear with your dress. Rule number four, free the nip.
Rule number five, there's always a vibe check. We all have to check in with each other at the beginning of the night to make sure we're all on the same category of outfit.
Yeah. Coordination.
I had the most awkward situation on a girls' trip where I'm the only married girl in my group of friends. I ended up rooming with somebody that was single. And at the end of a fun night, she wanted to bring someone back. Now I'm in my room and I'm like, there's two guys in my room, like drinking and still hanging out. It was a guy and his friend. Yeah.
Oh, so that was supposed to be for you.
No, and that's the point. Now I'm in my room on the phone, like, there's dudes in the room. Like, I feel mad uncomfortable. Like, I think I have to be wiser because maybe that wasn't the trip I should have been on.
Damn!
She realized she shouldn't be on that trip when she had two men in her room, and her friend was about to make her cheeks start clapping. Bravo for the late realization, but it's not entirely her fault. It's the fault of the man who allows his woman to go on a girls' trip with her single friends. If you're surprised something went wrong, it's because you didn't understand the basic rules of these trips. Let's be clear. A girls' trip always includes three foolproof ingredients: a fun environment, the mentality of looking for a good time, and plenty of alcohol. Now add an attractive man, the thrill of adventure, and a little chaos, and you've got the perfect recipe for things to spiral out of control. Brother, if you think nothing could happen, you're playing with fire. It's not paranoia, it's common sense.
Girls cheat. Girls trips, for example, crime one. I can't tell you how many times a girl has cheated on her girls trip with me. Miami, you guys see I'm going to Miami a lot. These girls go on girls trip in Miami and they cheat. I don't care what you say. I don't care what your girl tells you. Quick story time. I was in Miami. This girl cheated on her boyfriend with me. I came back. I saw her Instagram, found it, and she was posting pictures with her boyfriend. And then she ended up blocking me because she didn't want me to see that. The point is, I've learned that girls are definitely cheaters and they're opportunists under certain circumstances, and especially with the right guy. And I just so happen to be that right guy a lot of times. So keep that in mind, take that information however you want. But if your girl is going to Miami and I'm there, chances are you might want to reschedule the trip.
It's funny because it's true.
This is a classic chat. He makes it clear on his YouTube channel. If he finds your girl in Miami and she's willing, he's not going to forgive her. As the saying goes, the only one who forgives is Christ, and he died on the cross. Brother, this guy isn't here to teach you morality. He's here to warn you that if your girl is in fun mode on a girl's trip, chances are something is going to happen. As I've already said, a girl's trip always includes three foolproof ingredients: a fun environment, the mindset of looking for a good time, and plenty of alcohol. That combination, paired with the right man, is the perfect recipe for disaster. And this Chad doesn't sugarcoat it. Women are unfaithful under the right circumstances, especially if they meet the right guy. And if you don't believe me, just watch the next story about the husband who showed up unannounced on his wife's trip and discovered something he surely wasn't expecting. Brother, this isn't paranoia, it's reality. Take care of what you have, or Miami will do it for you.
You got girl you telling me lies about what she Yeah, you made me so I did a friend of my wife. What? What is it? What have you got to say for yourself, What? Just like yourself. Just like yourself. Each one yourself. Again? Oh, really? You know, why do you get that? Tell your kids life, why you telling your life that where you're at, right?
Thank you.
It's like yourself. No, you stay. It's not bad. It's going up to see what I'm going to no, that's it. That's
Do married women go on girls trips? No, we do not. No, we do not. No, we do not. We don't go on girls trips. We don't do that. We married. We don't go on girls trips. What we looking for? Who we checking for? What? Go and spend time with our friends? No, thank you. We can spend time right here in the city. Where you want to go? Olive Garden, Red Lobster. Where we going? Brunch, Target, Walmart. You pick. Out the country, no. My husband cracked.
Hell to the no, 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 no. Hell no.
That man surely saw the signs before catching her. Her insistence on girls' trips and her evasive attitude. That's why he decided to show up. Deep down, he already knew what he was going to find. Brother, if she's so eager to travel, why doesn't she do it with you? The issue here isn't the guy she's with. The problem is your woman. Fighting the other man solves nothing. If I were in your shoes, I'd have just taken a picture, kept the evidence, and let my lawyer handle the rest. Married women shouldn't be going on girls' trips if they have a husband at home. If they truly want to hang out with their friends, there are thousands of places in town to do so. But no, nowadays they want the ring and the big wedding, yet live like single women within the marriage. Then we hear complaints about how there are no good men or family-oriented guys left. Well, with behavior like this, what man would want to get married and put up with this kind of nonsense? Brother, mutual respect is the foundation, and if it's not there, it's time to rethink everything.
Get ready with me while I tell you a story about a time I cheated on my boyfriend and don't regret it. Now, I would like to preface this by saying I do not condone cheating. It's not healthy. It's not good. But I try to find, the light at the end of the tunnel in every situation. And let's just say the situation brought me back to life and made me wake up and realize that I was not happy. Now, to start this off, you should know that I was in a very, very toxic relationship for about 3.5, 4 years, and things weren't going very well. Now, where the issue started is my ex and I were preparing for Valentine's Day. And right around the time of Valentine's Day, he decides that he is going to go on a boys' trip to Scottsdale, which I was fine with. I didn't mind when he went out of town. But he lets me know the dates on it, and I start laughing. I was like, excuse me? I was like, that's over Valentine's Day. It was like, it fell over a whole weekend, and I was like, what are you talking about? Like, we have plans for Valentine's Day. We had reservations to a really nice restaurant, and he was just making adverse plans to go off with boys on a boys' trip on Valentine's Day. Now, this man was slick. So what he did was he had remembered that my girlfriends had talked about going on a trip to Mexico when we had been all hanging out a few weeks ago. And he's like, oh my God, you go on a girl's trip, I'll go on a guy's trip. And in return, I'll pay for your plane ticket for you to go. And I was like, but I don't know, kind of a trip, with my girlfriends seemed like a good idea. So I agreed. Now, as I'm taking off to go to Mexico, I realize this man has only bought me an economy seat. And that's fine, don't get me wrong. But if you are a man and you mess up Valentine's Day to go on a boys' trip and you're sending your girl off somewhere else, at least get her a Delta Comfort seat. But I was, in the back in economy and it was fine. So I take off, heading off to Mexico with my girlfriends. And we get to Mexico, hanging out, having a great time. And all of a sudden, I see this guy's Instagram story that looks just like where I'm at. And it was a guy who I had met in Atlanta, out and about, but he had moved to a different state. And so we kind of kept in touch with each other, but just as friends. I met him when he had a girlfriend. He met me whenever I had a boyfriend. So the second that I see that we are literally in the same place, same location, I reach out and I was like, hey, we should all get together because everyone knew each other who was associated with this group. And let me tell you, this man, beautiful. Probably the most beautiful man I've ever seen in my entire life. And I'll just go ahead and have to say we're going to need a part 2 because I need to continue, and I'm getting hot thinking about how cute this guy is.
Oh, hell no!
Here we have the typical attempt to justify infidelity under the premise of he did it first. She starts with the classic narrative, my relationship was toxic, followed by my partner was bad, and then downplays what she did as if it were just a reaction to his actions. Of course, she tries to position herself as the victim who was simply searching for happiness. But let's focus on the interesting details. There was a guy she met in Atlanta, someone she kept in touch with. That friend was her plan B. The guy who was always in the friend zone, patiently waiting for his turn. It's no coincidence that the perfect moment to act happened when both were single in the same place, with all barriers removed. The attraction had already been there. It just needed the right conditions to reignite. She claims it was a coincidence, but we all know that when there's a plan B in the picture, there's no such thing as an accident. Brother, this is a reminder. Those friends are often not just friends. They're backup plans waiting for their opportunity. But let's continue.
This is part 2 of me telling you about the time I cheated on my boyfriend and don't regret it. So I reach out to the guy and we make plans to all get together that night. He had a big group, I had a big group, and so we all decided to get together. Now, one thing I will say about specifically Tulum, Mexico is it's super romantic, but it's also big time party atmosphere. It is one of the most beautiful places, but it's definitely like a man-made put together place. It's meant to be romantic. So I would like to really preface that. So we get to what is like the biggest, I guess, club bar there, whatever you want to call it. And his group of friends, my group of girlfriends are all, kind of hanging out. Turns out he was there for a company trip. But nonetheless, we were having a great time. And about that time, everyone kind of starts tapering off towards the end of the night. He looks at me and he's like, let's go to the upstairs little quiet place. And I was like, I tried to go up there earlier. Definitely can't go up there. This is just like a little private area. And he's like, we'll go. Let's go. Now, before we get to the good part, I'm going to give you a little bit of detail about the relationship that I was in. Because once we get up to this private area, that's whenever it got spicy. My ex and I were in a situation where he had cheated and I was having a really, really hard time wanting to touch him again or, wanting to be intimate, or even when we were in bed together at night, there wasn't a lot of touching because he had cheated and every time he touched me, that's all I could think about. And so that made him start being less romantic. That made him start trying less. Stop trying less. And so it wasn't good. We were not in a good place. And so back to the private area, my ex was not the most showy guy. He was not someone who was going to walk up to a door guy and just get you in. Never did that. So we started hanging out in this little private area and we are taking tequila shots that are neat pours, may I add. You weren't getting shots there. They were pours and we were downing them. Now, so to keep going back on this place was super romantic and I had been dating someone who was no longer super romantic towards me. He would do nice things here and there when he wanted something, but that was really about it. And so I was in a super romantic place with this guy. We were having great conversation. He was asking me all these questions about myself and I fell for it. And so he asked me, hey, my company has the entire resort across the road, hotel, whatever you want to call it, rented out. We can go do whatever we want there. He's like, let's go swimming. And I was like, you can't go night swimming. He's like, yes, you can. Again, this guy was making things happen. We're going to have to go to part 3. Sorry, this is a juicy story.
Here we have the classic woman trying to justify her infidelity with the typical, he did it first, so I had the right. Her story is full of excuses and carefully placed details designed to paint herself as the victim who simply fell into a romantic moment during a trip. Of course, her ex-husband is described as the typical beta provider, a man who gave her financial stability but, according to her, didn't know how to ignite the spark in bed. The man on the trip, on the other hand, is the complete opposite. This guy understands the game. He uses seduction, takes the lead, and creates the masculine polarity she craves. As she puts it herself, this guy was making things happen. In a romantic setting, with tequila in the mix, and far from the pressures of her husband. It's the perfect combination to justify her fling. Brother, this isn't just a dangerous cocktail. It's a recipe for emotional disaster. And the worst part is, she tells the story without a shred of regret, as if betrayal were a simple response to her discontent. But let's see how the story ends.
So this is part 3 of the Get Ready With Me while I tell you a story about the time I cheated on my ex and don't regret it. So again, this man is making things happen. We go over to his resort, but my resort was along the way. And I was like, hey, I need to get a swimsuit. And he's like, no, you don't. And if you're my dad, please stop watching. I know you're watching this. Please stop, because you're not going to like the rest of this. Anyways, we get to his pool and there's like a grotto situation and it was really, really pretty and it was really, really cold. So we hop in and hop just out just about as fast as we got in because it was freezing. I won't go into full detail about the rest of the trip, but we ended up spending the rest of the trip together. While I was there, I also ended up finding out that my ex, while he was in Scottsdale, was literally sitting with paid-for girls at a nightclub. Great. With all of that being said, I had one of the most romantic trips with someone. I had a blast and a great time getting to know somebody and actually realizing that I deserved way more than what I was getting in my current relationship. I finally realized that even though I had been in this relationship for all this period of time, I still deserved the spark. I still deserved the romance and the touching and the kissing and all of the above. I realized I deserved those things and it pulled me out of a rut. And I know everyone has heard the High Infidelity song by Taylor Swift, you know, do you really want to know what I was doing April 29th? Do you really know how he brought me back to life? However it goes. When I say that this man pulled me out of a rut of a relationship where I thought that I was just going to settle for the bare minimum in a relationship, this man wasn't even prepared to spend Valentine's Day with me. He didn't go above and beyond whenever it came down to the little things in life, and it ended up transpiring into me cheating. Now, I will say whenever I got back to Atlanta, I was pretty quick to tell my boyfriend what had happened. It took me a little bit of time. He knew I was acting funny, but I finally popped off one day and just was like, I deserve better than this. I want more than this. I figured out what I wanted, and it's just not this. Now, this kind of gave this man a wake-up call, and he was like, no, I'm not losing you. He wanted to try and make things work, and I just realized I was not happy, and there was no way that anything he could do would make it work. We even started trying to build a house together, and I still was not happy. I realized that there was something else out there that I wanted and ended up going and seeing this guy in the different state that he had moved to and realizing I was really, really missing something in the relationship. And so do I, think I handled things properly? No, but I don't regret what I did because I'm happy now and I know what I want.
In short, cheating on your husband empowered you. It showed you what you deserved, what you were worth, that you shouldn't settle for the bare minimum, that you're a strong, independent woman who deserves more. That romantic trip, where you spent the whole time cheating on your husband with another man, made it all clear to you. The ways of God are indeed mysterious, brothers. Nowadays, even cheating can become a journey of revelation for a modern woman. She assumes what her ex-husband might have been doing, so before confirming, she decides to do it herself. I'm sure he did a lot, considering they spent the entire trip together. And let's not forget about the friends as well. This story makes one thing even clearer. Any man who lets his wife go on a girl's trip should prepare to welcome her back well worked over by someone else, making him a willing cuckold. Because for many women, solving a bad situation starts with cheating, then trying to fix their life, and finally claiming that men are the most unfaithful ones. Let me know what you think about this story.
If you're here watching this video, chances are you're a man. You probably work in tech, finance, maybe sales. And all you can think right now is, God, when is this woman just going to step on me? Right? I nailed it, didn't I? Well, I never step on a man the first time we meet. So, looks like you're going to have to stick around.
Welcome to the wall. In today's video, we'll see how one woman says she's not about 50-50 with any man. Another claims that single women are the happiest, and finally, a woman who says that men are predators. Make sure to smash that like button and subscribe to the channel. We're aiming for 150,000 subscribers before the end of the year. Share your experiences and advice in the comments. That's what helps this community grow. Turn on notifications so you don't miss any videos. Let's get started.
It is never not hilarious to me that people threaten women with "you'll end up alone." Like, I am fully convinced that people never read the data on this, but like, do you know how happy divorced women are? Like, we just published a video essay yesterday on rom-coms and all of the insane messages they taught us, most of which, because obviously we're a financial channel, are like economic and consumerist. But one of them is that, like, in the framing of these movies, all of the young women, and they're like all in their 20s, because the other message is that if you don't get married by 30, your life is over. Like, they have an amazing career, an amazing group of friends, tons of disposable income. They're living their passions, and yet their lives are worthless because they're not married. And like, aside from the fact that that is like obviously socioeconomically not the case, like the framing that you can have absolutely everything in life, and because you don't have a man, none of it matters, is like literally the exact opposite of how it works. Like, they have done numerous studies on divorced women, and overwhelmingly they report being happier post-divorce, often report significantly happier, and even many times report being the happiest they've ever been, including before they've gotten married. Meanwhile, divorced men generally either decrease in happiness or immediately get remarried so they have another woman to take care of them. Anyway, the message of rom-coms and just pop culture generally is that women need to hurry and get married as soon as possible, otherwise the rest of their lives are irrelevant, when the reality of the data is that unless a man is truly additive to your happiness, you are much better off alone. And anytime a man tells you, like, don't do X or Y because you'll end up single, like, the only appropriate response is like, you promise?
Divorced women are the happiest because divorce is the best deal for them. Many go from having nothing to joining the middle or upper class with just one settlement. Proof? Look at the wealthiest women in the world. Most got there thanks to divorces, not their own efforts. But beware, the reality isn't so rosy. Single mothers and lonely women are the ones who suffer the most when times get tough. In this country, many of them end up below the poverty line, working in service jobs where they rely on their bodies to survive. That's why men remarry, because they know facing life alone and depending on a single job is a huge risk. Independence sounds great in movies, but in reality, many women end up unhappy, alone, and without anyone to care for them when they need it. That fantasy of being better off alone works well, until reality comes knocking.
Christian wives, can I just let you in on a little secret about what is slowly destroying your husband? It says in the book of Proverbs 12:4, an excellent wife is the crown of her husband. I bet you that's your goal, that you want to be the crown of your husband, the most precious thing to him. But she who brings shame is like rottenness to his bones. There is nothing that will steal the joy and the confidence of your husband more than your nagging, more than you calling him out on all those little things in order that you could secretly shame him into changing. You will not shame him into changing. You will rot his bones.
I don't think that this little man has gotten the memo that we don't care. We pick the bear. We would pick a squirrel. I would pick a flea over one of them. Is my mission in life to be the crown of my husband? I don't have a husband. I have a partner. And God, no, we've decentered men. We've all picked the bear. Ladies, believe me when I say that these little half-raised baby boys do not want a partner. They want a sexy little mom with benefit. They want to come home to your sexy little self looking absolutely perfect and skinny with your long, luscious locks and your glossy lips and your cute little sundresses and dinner coming hot out of the oven and their beautiful little babies toddling around the kitchen. And if you ask them to put their socks in the hamper or, I don't know, put the milk jug back in the fridge or anything, then somehow you're a nag. And somehow he's insinuating that Jesus didn't want wives to nag because he's throwing scriptures around there like some type of a Jesus-loving ninny muggin. And all the boys are scratching their heads going, Why this 4Bs, 5Bs, 6Bs now? There's 7Bs. Why are we swiping left and swiping right and swiping up and down and nobody's swiping back on us? And I don't know if choice lesbianism is a thing, but I'm all for it. I think it's time that we all stop breeding with narcissists. In a couple hundred years, this will all die off. The future will thank us. I can't even think of a good wrap up. He's left me speechless.
Stop it. Get some help.
It's ironic how this woman lives in constant contradiction. She says she prefers bears, promotes lesbianism by choice, and criticizes everything about traditional roles, yet she's living the exact opposite. Her new husband supports her because her previous one left her with nothing after the divorce, and now she's on a crusade to find the perfect traditional marriage. Independence? No. What she's looking for is comfort under the protection of another provider man. The funniest part is how these women, who've spent most of their lives as housewives, are the loudest about preaching that others shouldn't be. It's the classic case of misery-loving company. They blame men for everything, even when they depend on them to maintain their lifestyle. But of course, the "I'm independent" narrative sells better when someone else is footing the bill. Honestly, you can't make this stuff up.
Because the whole reason why you can't appreciate a man is because you've never respected him in the first place.
Uh-oh.
Fuck them. Fuck their feelings. Why the fuck would we respect men? They're our predator. Like, they're literally, if we were put out in nature, they're the ones we should fear.
Oh my god, this woman's dog definitely stepped on a bee. So I don't know if you know this, but we are in nature. This is not a simulation. And most men are not preying on anything except for Little Caesar's extramost bestest and the gargoyles in Elden Ring. But I'm gonna let you finish.
Fuck yeah, I'm gonna manipulate them. If I can get, like, their wallet to be empty and mine and empty their pockets, fuck yeah, I'll take it. Reparations, bitch. Also, like, when I was making the mistake of fucking men, I didn't hear what they wanted to say. I didn't want to listen. They're dumb. I don't respect them. When I would make the mistake of fucking them, I would literally cover their mouth because I was like, boo-boo, I don't give a fuck. You're a piece of meat for me. Let's get this over with because I need to, you need to make me not finish so I can finish me.
I swear they are finding the most creative ways to tell on themselves. This isn't even like if you squint, you can kind of see the predatory behavior. It is right there. It is a giant red flag factory. And it's almost like she realized how bad it sounded at the end there as she started stuttering. Hurry up and make me not finish so I can finish being here. Like, I guess at least you don't respect yourself either. Everything she just described about her own behavior is her being the predator. And then look at this follow-up clip.
Why would I willingly let a man into my life? So I can be fucked over? So I can be manipulated?
Oh, you mean exactly the thing that you said you do to men. You really managed to wrap up that projection in a pretty little bow, didn't you? And they all love to justify this with the whole, well, men did it first, so that's the only reason I'm doing it thing. The whole chicken and the egg thing doesn't matter because you're both chickens. Like, do you see what I'm saying here? If your response to seeing people behave like monsters is to become a monster, you're not a better monster. And I'm going to be very real with you. If you are indeed covering men's mouths during intercourse against their consent to silence them, I hope you get slapped with every essay conviction in the book. Something tells me you going to prison would be a win-win for all of us. You can finally be in a place where there are no men, and men can be in a place where they're safe from predators like you.
Absolutely agree. This woman deserves a beer for how clearly she exposes her contradictions. Now, the other woman with the glasses radiates more testosterone than many men, and it seems she likes the same things they do, if you know what I mean. But let's get to the important part. We live in a world built by men. Everything you use to live comfortably, from the streets you walk on to the phone where you spew nonsense, exists because men created it. But of course, they'll never acknowledge it. There are experiments where women are put on one island and men on another. The result? Within 24 hours, the women had to be rescued because they were dehydrated and without water. In their minds, they think they can live without us, but as the saying goes, it's not the same to call the devil as to see him arrive. Only when they face real emergencies do they realize the importance of men, though they'll never admit it. Brother, this isn't a simulation. Reality always speaks louder than empty words.
Remember that they were saying that you stopped messing with them at one point because of 50-50? Is there water? Where did the water go? What is the question? The who? 50-50. Remember they were saying that you said he was cheap, or they were saying that you were.
Oh, the splitting the bills.
The splitting 50-50, yeah, the 50-50.
Yeah.
Remember, what was the tea on that?
Yeah, do I look like anybody that would split anything?
So you guys broke up at that point because...
No, this is the question. Do I look like I would go 50-50 on bills?
No.
Okay. So yeah, that was ridiculous. Ironically, she goes to ask, do I look like I would go 50-50? I don't think you really want the answer now, do you? Because the ones that are ignorant and keep talking about, oh, I don't want to go 50-50. Oh, the guy needs to pay for everything, even if we're not together, even if we're just in the dating phase. Oh, he has to pay for everything, even though he's not my husband. And there's always some BS when it comes to the money. I'm going to tell you one thing. You know who are the ones that are so loud about, oh, I'm not going to go 50-50? The ones that look just like a streetwalker. The ones that look like they are literally on OF selling their body. Because why? Because you expect for a man to pay for everything. Yet, in the same sentiment, you say you're so independent. So which one is it? You need a man to pay for everything so that you can go ahead and keep all your money from this amazing career that you are so worried about? Let's be honest here. This is just another welfare request. This is just another money grab. Men don't want to be a welfare check. Making a remark like that just sounds absolutely asinine. And, yeah. A lot of men, especially strong masculine men, they don't want no parts of being the welfare department for a woman.
No man wants to become the ATM for this type of woman. If a woman can't support you or take care of you and your interests, cut her loose, brother. Women like this always end up alone, crashing hard against the wall. When their beauty starts to fade, they try to land one last big score, getting a ring. But what do they bring to the table? We're not just talking about money. They won't even do anything for you, like care for you or support your goals, because they're selfish and convinced they deserve everything just for being women. That's why you see them in their 30s still looking for a husband, thinking they're the prize. Meanwhile, men just have fun with them and move on. These women are never the destination. They're just part of the journey. They hit the wall, and the wall doesn't forgive, brothers. When they get to that point, they desperately start looking for a man to take care of them. But by then, men already see them for what they really are, a burden with nothing to offer.
If you want to be the woman that men throw themselves at your service, running, rushing to serve you, hold your doors for you, pull your chair out for you, pay for you, plan your favorite trips and dates for you, bring you just because flowers, you want the princess treatment, the queen treatment, then this message is for you. I want you to ditch your old narrative. The narrative where I'm a girl who faced many hardships and I had to do everything for myself. And, my father didn't do XYZ for me, or my brothers, my grandpa, the male figures in my life didn't do the things for me. So I had to learn to do them on my own because life is hard. So I had to buckle up, put on my big girl pants. Ditch that narrative. Absolutely, the accomplishments that you've had because of this narrative, because of your experiences and the circumstances of life. Celebrate your wins. You are a badass, my boss babe. You are killing it, crushing it when it comes to your career. But you are killing your dating life as well, not in the greatest way, because you are attracting men who now look up to you for you to take care of them as well, because you're so hyper independent. So if you want to be a woman who's in her feminine, I want you to carry yourself like a woman who has a different narrative. A woman who has the narrative of, I'm a woman with that all men serve. Everywhere I go, men do things for me. Men are holding my doors for me. Strangers are holding doors for me. Strangers are pulling my chairs out for me. I am that type of woman. I want you to carry yourself as a type of woman who has the siren mentality that men are created to serve me, to protect me, to provide for me. And you'll have this expectation wherever you go. Even if it's like a 20-year-old boy or a 60-year-old man, you will have the expectation. You will naturally move to the side so that your door will be held for you. And don't act surprised when they do it. Don't act surprised when a man is like, oh, you need something? Here, I'll sell you. Say, thank you so much. You make me feel so lucky, so happy. For more dating tips and advice, obviously hit the follow button. But I also want to say, if you're a woman who is ready like yesterday to live the soft life, be in a relationship with a provider man, have the relationship that you really, really want, I encourage you to click the link in my bio and grab my free dating guide, step by step, how to go from single to happily married.
Hey, bro. What? Oh my God!
The message this woman is putting out isn't entirely bad, but the problem lies in how she's selling it. She frames it as take advantage of men, instead of teaching women to be feminine and vulnerable with their partner. For a woman with high masculine energy, who spent her whole life being independent and adopting a boss mentality, this message is like pouring gasoline on a fire. Instead of building a balanced relationship, it fuels a narrative of emotional dependency disguised as empowerment. It's no secret that women with high masculine energy tend to attract feminine men. That's why we see so many men today becoming simps, handing over control to women who don't know how to support and care for a partner. If a woman wants a man to treat her like a princess, she needs to qualify herself as a queen for her king. This means showing him love, taking care of him, supporting him, and making him feel valued. A man who feels appreciated will always take care of his woman, because men are protectors by nature. If you want flowers, show your partner what you like. If you make him feel like a king, he'll do everything to make you happy because he knows your happiness reflects how well he feels with you. That's how reciprocity works in a real relationship.
My grandma let me go through her old jewelry and look what I found. How cute.
Who's gonna tell her?
Welcome to The Wall. In today's video, we'll explore two shocking stories. First, we'll talk about a woman seeking advice on how to confess to her husband that she cheated on him and, even worse, that she gave him an STD. Then, we'll look at the case of a judge who finally delivers justice, freeing a man from having to continue paying child support to the mother of his children after discovering she was misusing the money. Make sure to smash that like button and subscribe to the channel. We're aiming for 150,000 subscribers before the end of the year. A big thank you to those who support the project through super chats and share their experiences in the comments. That's what helps this community grow. Turn on notifications so you don't miss any videos. Let's get started.
You want to tell me a secret?
Okay, so I was out day drinking a couple months ago and hooked up with this guy. Ended up getting an STD. I went and got it cleared up, but I keep getting it back, which means I gave it to my husband, and now I have to tell him so he can get rid of it so I can get rid of it.
Ooh, what STD was it?
Trichonomia.
You said chlamydia?
No, trichonomia.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I don't even know what that is. It's the first time I've ever even heard of it when I got it.
That's
Dr.
borderline.
Benzo's here.
Yeah, it's Dr. Ice here. So I'm gonna tell you what you've been diagnosed with. You've been diagnosed with trichomonia. That's borderline chlamydia. But you also been diagnosed with double dipping. You heard? But we not here to judge you though. Honestly, we're not here to judge you. You know what I'm saying? But how do you? Who do you feel in your heart you got it from? Like
it had to be that day drinking guy.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was the day drinking guy.
Do you have that guy's number? Is there a way to contact him or no?
I don't have his number. I mean, if I see his face, I can recognize him, but it was really just a random. on a bad day.
How are you gonna tell your husband?
I don't know yet. I'm gonna tell him because like I keep coming back, so I have to tell him. I'm just gonna tell him that I got STD and that I need him to go get tested so that I can get rid of it.
Damn! Here we have a married woman confessing that, after a night of drinking, she ended up with a stranger, unprotected, contracted an STD, and now passed it on to her husband. But the worst part isn't the infidelity itself, it's how she's handling it. We're not here to judge, they say, but of course we are, because this wasn't an accident. It was a conscious choice. She doesn't even remember the guy, just his face, and now she plans to confess. Not out of remorse, but because she needs her husband to get treated so she can get rid of it. Brother, this is every man's worst fear. Doing nothing wrong and having your partner bring a disease into your home. The most outrageous part is her attitude, as if it were just a bad night. What would a good night look like, then? And the worst part is she doesn't even feel genuine remorse. She just wants to solve the problem because she couldn't hide it anymore. Brother, the world's upside down when someone can justify this level of irresponsibility and betrayal. If it had been something incurable, would she confess then too? This isn't just infidelity. It's an act of negligence that puts her partner's life at risk. Let's continue.
Maybe you should tell him it was dormant, and then
You gotta tell him though.
That's what I was thinking because that's what they said. They were like, you could have had it for a long time. I mean, I've only been married for a year and a half, but that's a long time for something to be dormant. So
okay. I just did some research for you, right? How can you get trichomoniasis, whatever, if no one cheats? And it says that you can actually get it through extensive literature. It shows that you can actually get it through towels and toilet seats and from swimming pools.
Even still, if I'm being honest with myself, I gotta know where it came from. So
And you need to let him know because as a man, he ain't going for the toilet seat. I got it from the toilet seat bag. Like he ain't having it.
He's definitely not going to believe you if you try to say that.
I don't believe it, so I already know.
Maybe you should set somebody up to cheat with him. And
Absolutely not. He's so cute. He wouldn't even go for it.
I'm kidding.
Hey, no, look, before you leave though, one last thing. Another way you can get that is like having sex without showering. Like say, you know, you and your husband, y'all gotta shower before y'all have sex. You can get trichomoniasis that way. So maybe you should just tell him like, baby, honestly, I think from here on out, we both need to just shower before we have sex, you know, because I got trichomoniasis and I believe you have it too. So now we need to take this medicine. There you go. Wham.
I don't trust Bezo.
I'm gonna slide it right in there, believe me.
No! God, please, no! 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 No!
This is the problem with the world today. Someone messes up, and instead of taking responsibility, they find excuses to blame others. This woman, instead of owning up to what she did, is considering how to trick her husband into thinking he's the one responsible for the disease. And to top it off, she has someone suggesting strategies to cover up her irresponsibility, as if her husband were the problem and not her. How low can someone go? Imagine this scenario. You've been married for just a year and a half, and you're already dealing with your first infidelity, complete with an STD as a bonus. I don't see how any relationship can survive something like that. This man doesn't need medicine. He needs a divorce to heal his entire life. A woman who doesn't even protect herself with a stranger, whose name she doesn't even remember, and now has the nerve to look for ways to blame her husband. Brother, this isn't just a bad night. It's a sign that this woman is a walking disaster. If she doesn't take responsibility now, she'll keep causing harm in the future. Remember, brother, if the frog comes from the streets, no matter how much you kiss it, it won't turn into a princess.
As part of the child support order, Dad was ordered to pay a portion of the work-related child care expenses as child support. As a matter of fact, the work-related child care expenses were a little over $800 a month. He had to pay about $500 of that $800. Well, here was the problem. The person giving that child care was the maternal grandmother, his ex-mother-in-law. Here's what happened. When the kids get out of school, the grandmother goes and picks both kids up, one from nursery school or kindergarten, the other one from first or second grade, and brings them home, and they stay with the grandmother the rest of the day. Well, grandmother charges mom $200 a week to keep the kids. Dad has to pay his portion of that. The $200 a week comes to almost $800 a month. Dad's paying $500 of that to mom as extra child support. Then mom cuts the check to the grandmother for $200. Well, guess what? At the end of the month, the grandmother gives the mother about $800 in cash. In other words, she reimburses or gives back that money that the mother paid for childcare to the mom to help her out as a gift. Well, the result of that was that mom really didn't have any childcare expenses, but dad was paying his share of what would be those childcare expenses. Well, dad found out about it. You know, kids have a way of talking, and apparently the older kid heard the grandmother and the mother talking about it and said something to dad, and that kind of clued dad into the fact that this is what was going on. So dad went back to court, took mom back, called the grandmother as a witness, and the grandmother, being the nice lady she is, was not going to lie. She told the truth. Yes, the daughter was giving her $200 a month for child, or a week rather, for child support, and yes, she was giving it back to mom at the end of the month to help mom out. Well, the judge was none too happy about that. You know, there was nothing they could do about it retroactively, but going forward, dad didn't have to pay that extra $500 for childcare.
Typical. A single mother trying to squeeze more money out of the father, and then they dare to say men aren't responsible. The irony is that if the roles were reversed, the man would be forced to pay back every cent. But of course, because it's a man, it's hard for anyone to see him as the victim, right? In this case, at least the judge had a moment of clarity and lifted that extra burden off the father. It's sad that for a man to get a shred of justice, he has to rely on a judge to step in and prevent him from being scammed. And the worst part is the scheme. The mother pays the grandmother to take care of the kids, and at the end of the month, the grandmother gives all the money back to her in cash as a gift. The level of greed is astounding. I'm not saying all single mothers are like this, but the reputation of taking advantage doesn't help their case. What do you think? Did the judge do the right thing?
This is a PSA for the men that are getting traditional wifey treatment to be extremely thankful for them this holiday season, because they are like finding a needle in the haystack. Those women that are cooking you dinners, doing your laundry, cleaning the house, doing the grocery shopping, they're intimate with you, but they also give you time to yourself to do your guy stuff, watch sports, know when to give you some space. It's so rare nowadays, and for those men that have those wives, show her appreciation, not just because it's a holiday week, but because you truly appreciate all she does for you. You don't realize how good you have it until you don't anymore. So for those that do still have that traditional wifey and are getting that treatment, ask your single friends. They know it's rare. Or the ones that are in those miserable relationships, they know it's rare. Thank those wives. Appreciate those wives. Let them know they're seen, heard.
Oh my God! Wow!
A man who has a wife like this, someone who cooks, cleans, is intimate with you, and also respects your space, should treasure her as the rare gem she is. These days, finding a woman with that traditional mindset is like searching for a needle in a haystack. But in the same way, a wife should value a man who can support a household on a single income, works hard to provide stability, buys a home, and takes on the enormous responsibility of being the provider. This isn't a competition about who contributes more. It's a team effort. If both partners understand that the success of their marriage depends on what each brings to the table, then they have something truly valuable. Brothers, if you have a relationship where you and your partner support each other mutually, don't take it for granted. In today's world, relationships like these are so rare they should be on the endangered species list. Appreciate what you have, because outside of that team, the landscape is a desert.
So I just got home from dinner, and I have been trying to decide if I even wanted to talk about this at all because it's horrible, but this past week an Amber Alert revealed that my boyfriend of a year and a half has been cheating on me. The boyfriend that I was building a life with, picking out rings and shutter colors with.
So an Amber Alert went off on my phone. My boyfriend was out at a beer with the boys before immediately going to the airport. He had been acting super strange. So when this Amber Alert goes off, I go in the bedroom. I immediately smell cologne. Weird to put cologne on to go out for beers with the boys. So I see the Amber Alert is going off on the watch. I go to silence it. I've already tried to call him twice. No answer. Earlier that morning, I had sniffed my pillow because I just felt like something was off. He called me crazy. He said I was a psycho. I looked around the room. I felt like things had been moved. I felt like my sink, all my stuff under the sink had been moved. Called me absolutely crazy. So I pick up his Apple Watch. I silence the notification, and I immediately get an "I miss you already" text. It is the girl that he has been in a full-on relationship for the past 2 weeks. Like, "Good morning, beautiful. I miss you. I'm in it for the long haul, blah, blah, blah," text. All the while, he's laying his beautiful little head beside me every night, still planning our lives. So this is a full-on dual relationship, like dual life, mastermind, next level amount of deception type of shit. So when I get that text, I obviously scroll through all the texts and everything comes out. Not only is it her, it's other women too. But she's obviously getting the crux of it. She's getting the copy and paste of the love bombing that I got last year. So granted, my entire life has flashed before my eyes, and every gut instinct I've ever had has just been like put in blinding lights. So yeah, that was my week. And moral of the story, there's so much of the story. I should probably do a part 2. Part of me doesn't want to do part 2 because I feel like, oh, like who needs to hear about this? But at the same time, this is crazy. Like, normal people do not do this to other humans, specifically ones they say I love you to, but like to anyone, because it's so cruel and disgusting and like quite literally puts people at risk, not only emotionally but physically, to engage in this kind of behavior. It goes against everything that they say that they stand for. But I also just feel like a full-on 10 minutes on this is cringe. So like, my moral of the story is, if I would not have gotten that Amber Alert, if he would not have gotten the Amber Alert, I would have never known this. I probably would have married this man with him acting this way and being capable of this type of behavior once I was pregnant, once I had kids, like for the rest of my life. And so legitimately, I feel like an Amber Alert just saved my life. I know that they're used for much more serious situations, but for me, like that Amber Alert just changed the course of my life. Y'all want a part 2?
Stop it. Get some help.
Amber now takes your place while you watch your world crumble, and she builds hers with that man. I'm not excusing the guy. She should clearly leave him, but let's talk about male psychology here. Women often ask how a man can say, "I love you," and still be unfaithful. It's simple. Men don't view intimacy the same way women do. For them, it can be just fun, something with no emotional ties. The other woman means nothing. The one at home is the one he truly wants to build a life with. It's not right, but that's the difference. Plus, these women who put their entire lives on the internet often end up alone. Men get tired of their whole relationship being on social media, and on top of that, there are always other women trying to take the man from the so-called relationship expert. It's an ironic cycle. They start with big stories and apparent relationships, but they always end up in the same place, single and giving advice. And even though this story could be staged content, if it's real, I hope they release that promised second part, because, brothers, we can't be left hanging with only half the gossip.
Okay, so obviously we all know being around like a guy that you like and like hoping that he thinks you're cool is like so nerve-wracking and gives you a bunch of anxiety. But you know what's worse that we never talk about? Being around a girl that you really want to be friends with and you're like, "Oh my gosh, I can't, like, does she think I'm cool?" Because you think she's like so cool and you want to be her friend so bad, but you don't want to come off like desperate. So you're like, that is so much more nerve-wracking than guys. Guys, it's like, okay, whatever. Girls, it's like, please be my friend, please.
Welcome to The Wall. In today's video, we'll explore 2 stories that will leave you thinking. First, we'll talk about a woman who has no qualms about telling her boyfriend that if he falls into a coma, she'd have someone to replace him in just 2 weeks. The reason? She doesn't want to deal with his medical bills and needs someone to cover her expenses. Then, we'll dive into the excuses of a 40-year-old woman about why men don't date women her age, where, according to her, it's always because they don't have what it takes. We want you to smash that like button and subscribe to the channel. We're chasing 150,000 subscribers before the end of the year. Share your experiences and advice in the comments. That's what makes this community grow.
If I was in a coma, how long would you wait until you moved on?
Realistically, like 2 weeks.
2 weeks? Oh, yeah, she already got her somebody.
I feel like you wouldn't get hard to get over. You know what I mean?
She don't like you. She just here for a good time, not a long time.
I just
2 weeks.
Well, yeah, like I'm not gonna get stuck paying your hospital bill. Are you kidding me? And who's gonna support me financially? Myself?
She needs to exit immediately. What are you waiting for? That's one of the biggest red flags I've seen.
Hospital bill?
Is that a joke?
You don't have to pay that.
Okay, well, if you're not gonna be here, who's gonna support me financially? I need to hurry up and run and like find the next one.
She for the streets. You need to throw her ass in a wall and let them take their turn.
Tinder's already downloaded on my phone now that you just said that. Like I'm just preparing. I'm just preparing.
Are you serious?
Don't grab my shit like that.
Bro,
2 weeks is good, right?
It was hypothetical if I was in a coma. So now you're saying I'm going to be in a coma? What are you going to do to me?
Well, I'm just saying, like, I have to
No, what are you
prepare
gonna
for the
do to me?
worst. I have to put myself first, so you're gonna get mad at that? You don't want me to take care of myself? You don't want another man to, like, help me?
Why is this conversation still going on? Drop her ass off on the counter and let her get to work.
Oh my gosh. 2 weeks is diabolical. That's just
I feel
wrong.
Damn!
When they say, "Till death do us part," many men take it literally. But here's the reality. Many women don't last even a week when things get tough. This video makes it clear. If a man falls on hard times, whether due to illness or financial struggles, the first thing many women do is look for an exit. And while it's tough to face, it's also a blessing in disguise because it frees you from someone who never loved you for who you are, but for what you provide. That's why I always tell you, brothers, be firm with your boundaries and gentle with your needs. Test women with small things. If she never does anything for you, not even a simple act of service like making you a meal, she definitely won't be there for you during hard times. Those small actions, even if you don't need them, are clear indicators of whether she cares about you or is just with you out of convenience. Remember, a woman who won't stand by you in tough times will never be your partner in the good ones.
I asked him for help with something like, look at the giant mess that our kitchen is. Okay, so I asked him for help. And you know what he decides to do? He decides to go outside and clean his truck out.
Okay, so I can womansplain this. If you ask a man for help, his brain is going to do basically the same thing as a broken printer once it unjams. He's not going to go for the current project. He's going to go for whatever was the last project that he remembered in his load order. You might not remember it, but at some point in time, you asked him to clean out his car, so that's what he's doing now. What you didn't do was ask him to clean the kitchen. You asked for help. If there's one thing I've learned in marriage, and I've learned a lot, it's that there is no shame in asking for literally exactly what you want. If you want him to buy you flowers, don't just say things like, it would be nice if you did something special for me once in a while. Tell him, hey, I'd like it if you bought me flowers sometimes. If you want him to comfort you a certain way, don't just say things like, I wish you cared more about me. Tell him specifically, I want you to hug me even when I'm mad at you. It doesn't make you less of a woman because he's not doing things that you never asked him to do, okay? It makes you a smart woman who knows what she wants. Now, I totally understand the miscommunication causing a little bit of frustration. But you know what's going to cause an even bigger rift in your marriage? You following him around and secretly recording him and then secretly dogging him to 500,000 people. And that's why this is a partner-shaming episode and not just a womansplaining episode. Like, imagine you sit down to use the bathroom and all of a sudden you hear this from outside the door.
Now he's pooping.
Like, bro, are you serious? Real talk, if my husband heard that, he would ruin that TikTok. He would kick the door open and be like, yeah, I'm pooping. You want a closer look? Let's reverse these roles real quick. I just want to know how she would feel if he was the one video recording her mistakes and flaws and allowing such comments as, That's your other child. I have one of those. You men need better ladies. Absolutely would not be letting that continue. Sorry to break it to you, but it doesn't get better. I divorced mine. Oh no, you would be okay with your husband talking about divorcing you to 500,000 people? I'm just saying, how is any of this productive instead of just walking outside and saying, hey babe, I actually need help with the kitchen? You followed him around with your phone and created an echo chamber of resentment toward him. One of the other patterns I noticed about this series, besides the general trope of secretly record, secretly bash, leave up for views, and then pretend the relationship is fine, is that these men tend to be very private people. They generally don't have TikToks, and they generally have no idea what's going on. So again, I want to remind you guys that just because someone is your spouse doesn't mean that you have the full rights to constantly record them and put their mistakes and flaws up on the internet for your own entertainment. I think this lady needs to stop and rewatch some of her TikToks and listen to what her husband is saying in them, because I don't think the consent is there. I mean, listen closely.
Come in here. Come in here. Come in here.
Don't treat your partner like your ex unless you want them to be one.
I completely agree with what this woman says. The problem isn't that men don't help. It's that, many times, they don't know exactly what you want because you don't say it clearly. Expecting them to read your mind or interpret vague hints is absurd. If you want them to clean the kitchen, say so. Don't ask for help and then get upset if they end up washing the car, because that's the last thing you asked them to do weeks ago. The male brain is straightforward. Give me a clear instruction and I'll do it. Also, recording your husband to expose him on TikTok isn't just immature. It's a complete betrayal. How can you expect to build something solid if your first reaction is to ridicule him in front of 500,000 people instead of talking to him? If he did the same to you, you'd be crying and calling it emotional abuse. Don't treat your partner like he's your enemy or your ex. Men are simple. If you say what you want clearly and respectfully, we'll do it. But if you choose to ridicule and disrespect your husband, don't be surprised when he leaves, and then you claim he was abusive.
One of the reasons why man talks about women hitting the wall at 35 is because a woman in her 40s sexual appetite increase exponentially. And if a man wasn't taking care of his body, he's not going to be able to keep up with that woman's needs. He's not going to be able to please that woman because the woman is going to want it back to back to back, right? And if the man wasn't taking care of himself, he's not going to be able to keep up, right? And a lot of these men, they're suffering from ED, they're suffering from health issues. And so if they're with a woman in their 40s, they're going to be embarrassed. That is one of the reasons why women in their 40s date younger men, because they want the stamina, they want the duration. They don't care if they have to train the man or to teach the man skill. They want the duration, they want the stamina, because those women, their appetite have increased so much, right? That they just want pleasure, right? And the duration, the stamina is what they need to be pleased. Because when a woman is in their 40s, their sexual appetite is insatiable, and it needs a man who have been taking care of his body to keep up, to quench that woman's fire. All right? Make sure to save this video as a young girl, because trust me, your intimacy life, your sexy time is just going to get better with age.
It's always interesting how, when a woman analyzes relationship issues, the blame always seems to fall on the man. Now, apparently, we don't want to date women aged 35 or 40 because we can't keep up with their sexual appetite. But why doesn't anyone talk about the real reason? It's not the passion, it's the drama. Men prefer to avoid these relationships because they come loaded with unrealistic standards, overwhelming masculine energy, and a focus that turns every date into a rush job interview for commitment. The issue isn't their experience, it's the baggage they bring. Divorces, kids from a Chad who didn't stick around, or that "I deserve everything just for being me" mindset. Many men have no problem dating women who genuinely want to build a family, but when that woman comes with a package of disproportionate expectations and disdain for the average man, it's no surprise they'd rather choose someone younger, with less trauma, and with whom they can enjoy life without a checklist of demands. This is how it works. A man improves himself, reaches his peak, and then chooses what he truly wants, not what he feels forced to accept. It's not weakness, it's selection.
My favorite men are the men that just work. Like, if you're a man, you need to be at work. Where are all the good men? They are at work, doing their job, focusing on their job, excelling in their field. Those are the best men, because a man who is not happy with his career or where he's at in life are the most evil men you will ever meet. They're the most insecure, evil men. They will ruin your fucking life. And they're just not fun to be around. Guys, working, career, happy, of course, probably wants to excel more. We all do. But like, that man is your man. The man that's not happy with where he's at in his career, bye. Bye, 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 bye. Love you, bye. See you later. Can't chat.
Oh, hell no!
Here we see a woman looking for a beta provider to support her. Let's be honest, many women like this type of man because he's almost never home. Why do you think there's a 43% divorce rate among women aged 45 to 55? It's because the husband is nearing retirement, and when they realize he'll be home all the time, they'd rather leave early before that happens. That's why they like it, because while he's working, he provides them with a good life. It's like having an investment account that yields great benefits, and before the stock crashes, they sell it. This is the sad reality for men.
If you are constantly getting ghosted, if it feels like you are attracting partners that you are so much more obsessed with than they are with you, or maybe you just don't get princess treatment, I'm going to tell you why this is happening and how to fix it easily as someone who used to get ghosted all the time. So the reason this keeps happening is because you have put this person on a pedestal, okay? You view them as above you, as someone you have to impress, okay? As someone you have to win over. See, anything you chase in life will run away. In every relationship or connection, there's going to be the feminine and the masculine energy, the receiver and the pursuer. And so when you're constantly thinking about a person, when your energy is consumed in them, then you are the chaser. You are in your masculine energy rather than your feminine receiving energy. This is also the reason why the law of detachment is so powerful and works so fast and well, because when you detach from the outcome and you realize that you are completely satisfied in yourself, that you have given yourself all the validation, and your validation and happiness and security has nothing to do with this person, you take them off the pedestal and realize they have to impress you rather than the other way around. Suddenly, they're chasing after you. The way you're going to fix this is you're mentally going to put this person off the pedestal, and you're going to start telling yourself, they have to impress me. They have to win me over. You have to start convincing and telling yourself how much you bring to the table. They have to win you over. Like, that's the mindset you need to have, is they have to win you over. Every time you see them, you have to ask yourself, what have they done to win me over? Am I even impressed? Go into it with the mindset of, what do they bring to the table? And when you approach it with that mindset, watch how fast that person is worshiping you, begging for you, trying to impress you. Try it out and watch what happens, because the people who are doing my workshop, which you can grab at the top of my page, you start doing things like this and self-concept, literally see results like this, like exes crawling back, people giving them the utmost princess treatment, literally obsessed with them. Use code Valentine's Day if you get it right now to get 25% off. You're welcome. I love you. Bye. All for more.
Cocaine's a hell of a drug.
Here's the smoke seller who's going to teach you how to make a man obsessed with you when she doesn't even have one herself. These are the women who try to profit off other women who've hit the wall, claiming that to get a man, you need to know their magic trick and take their workshop on how to land your man. Completely ridiculous. The worst part is, people actually buy it. If women would just focus more on the average guy with potential, they wouldn't need to rely on these silly games. But no, it's better to spend thousands of dollars on a course selling the illusion of landing a high-value man. You can't make this stuff up. We've reached the end of the video, but before we go, here are some questions for you. Do you think men are afraid of dating women over 35? How long do you think a woman should wait after your death to start dating again? If you enjoyed the video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell. Your support means everything to us and motivates us to create more content. Stay tuned for the next exciting video from the wall.